My name's Rebecca and this is Pete. I'm a poet and Pete's going to play the piano, which is really exciting. So we're going to do a few poems for you about different things. The first one was a commission from Chelsea Flower Show, and I was asked to write a poem about flowers, and when they asked me I said I'm probably the worst poet in the world to ask because I write about boys and that's about it. And so I started thinking about what the natural environment meant to me. And I kind of concluded that it was about finding a breath of fresh air and beauty and solitude. And actually these were all characteristics that Bristol had. It's different when it's in a city. So this poem is about that, and it's called Sometimes. Sometimes I used to want to leave it all behind. The way of the city, go find silence by the edges of forests, capture nature in my pockets, etch its essence into poems. Sometimes I'd plant my feet on another type of ground, bending down to gather seeds I'd later scatter across streets, remembering forget-me-nots might grow next to the overflow of bins, trying to let some light in through the dirt of it all. But sometimes there comes a moment when you just need to let go and see this city as a garden. Come, discover my heart grow here. There was never any need to leave, find life outside of it. We are a riverbed of roads, streaming traffic leading us further into the unknown, and I never wanted to be sure, you know. I am stood still now between the flats that grow en masse like weeds, buzzing with 1,000 species inside, and the derelict buildings where silence and solitude hide behind a forest of shops. I'm getting lost between carrier bags and street signs. I am stood still now, my fingers intertwined in the stomach of the city, surrounded by people, wildflowers who just grow where they're told. Like the Colombian orchids who sip spiced rum in dimly lit bars at the same time Iranian roses gather where the English ones are. On the corners where St. Paul's and Stokes Croft collide, two types told they could never grow side by side, becoming one. Later on, Spanish tulips perform songs to Cornish daffodils, heads bent back singing soulfully sweet southern sounds as Egyptian lotus curl open with sunrise, all wide-eyed, new mornings, days dawning, and the Syrian jasmine traces pictures on his back of the outline of their home. We are small flowers cracking concrete. We are signals of survival, surprising us all every time we think we couldn't get any further than before. Faces searching for the sun specks, roots crawling under floorboards. Sometimes I used to want to leave it all behind. The way of the city, go find silence by the edges of forests, capture nature in my pockets, etch its essence into poems. But the breath of fresh air starts here, home, and I'm rooted between the houses. The beauty I longed for seen in the faces of my two elderly neighbours, cyclical rings in oak trees. And the growing I longed for seen in how many decades they have held one another's hearts. And the sweet smell is her perfume, all fake lilacs and violets, and him and his cigars. There is peace in the sometimes we stay where we are and see there is so much more to find. Just here, in this garden, where the beauty is of a different kind. Thanks a lot. This next one is about boys. I did a Google search for what women want from men, and it was really horrific. It came back with things like, women want men to drive really fast cars and have loads of money, which is nice. It's nice to have loads of money, but it'd be really boring if that's all that we got from one another. So I wrote a poem about it, and it's called What Women Actually Want. And it goes like this. We were both 11. I didn't yet know what it felt to be heavy with heartache. My lips were not ready to carry the sound of his name across oceans, up mountains, within the sentiments of poems. My stomach didn't twist yet, didn't risk kicking my ribs yet at the sight of him. We were both 11. He didn't understand how the insanity of love feels. He wasn't fascinated by females, but by the taste of Indian cooking. When the teachers weren't looking, he'd graffiti ancient languages on tabletops, then kama forsha, because he wanted to speak in secrets. We were both 11. And we were kissing because that's what our friends dared us to do. So the river, the crickets, his breath hole punching the air in two became one. His tongue was a washing machine. My hands didn't know where to go, so I held him like I was shifting a wardrobe that contains nothing but shelves of high hopes and low self-esteem. We were all teeth and heartbeats and spit during our first ever kiss. After this, he never talked to me again. We used to play hide and seek together, running into the unknown blindly. He once made me feel that life was about him finding me. Yet, I watched him leave that river, forever unsure about what women wanted him to be. "16 years have since passed. In the meantime, I've realized I never needed a man to find me. Yet I found myself a man worth learning. It is late night, and as stars are spat out of black, our hands collapse on each other's chests, and I cross myself over every single part of you that's left. I draw equations across your skin, adding and taking away everything we've ever found and lost together, and I turn to you and say, sometimes I want to put exit signs above entrances because I'm afraid of you leaving. Sometimes I say I am still caught up in the memory of my first kiss, going of zipped lips and cheeks blushing the colours of bleeding suns and blood oranges. Sometimes I say I want to write you a list. I want to scrawl it on the back of an old card just in case you ever need to ask or know what women really want. Number 3 goes, you don't need to drive a fast car. What matters is we feel like we are going forward together, that we move each other to a place beyond stop signs and breakdowns. Number 2 goes, you don't need to be made of muscle. Your dick doesn't need to be of colossal proportions. Your strength doesn't need to be measured by how many weights you hold. Just carry your head high in adversity. Let your eyes burn like forest fires. Let the wrinkles of your face read like the details of underground tube maps, and your skin smell like adventure. And number one goes, girls and boys, we aren't that different. We were all born blue. And what women really want is only ever all of you, so let yourself meow and crawl as well as roar and soar and show us weak and afraid and strong and secure and stumble on words and cry when you need to and feel awkward and nervous if that's what seems true, and hold your heart in your hand, unashamed to let us see every single surge of life that really makes it beat. Thanks everyone, thanks for being here. And you've got a whole festival to be in. Are you having a nice time? Good. Okay, I'm gonna do a couple more. This one's about God. Well, actually, it's about that moment where you look at your friends and you're like, you're gods, actually. Why didn't I ever notice that before? Or you look at your mum and you think that, or you look at your boyfriend or whatever it might be. Or your dog. We've got a really nice Jack Russell, haven't we, Tom? Well, it's our mum and dad's, it's not ours, but we think it is. It's called Ruby. I found Allah once. It was Morocco 7 years ago. My knees collapsed on a prayer mat, arms flat packed behind my back, heart beating like the pulse of a racehorse. It was hot sun, 28 degrees of hot, sun-baked apricots, speakers spitting prayers, me looking everywhere for God. Awkward and still, sat waiting for the return of my breath, when suddenly I saw him. He was old now, 90 or so, bending down and picking up fag butts. Somehow then I knew he too was trying to bring back that which you just need to give up and let go of. I found the guru once. It was outside a Gurdwara in Bristol. She was a woman waiting, stood in a short skirt and high heels, her 4 children pulling on every limb, her still smiling somehow. It was a dry day. And she spoke to them all as if speaking in scriptures, promising packed lunches and trips to the park, showing that working hard can reveal itself in miracles. That sometimes it taps Morse code across your children's skins, saying, let me into every single pore of you. I found God once. It was age 9, St. Francis Church, sat between Emily Slade and Kimberly Chapman. The assembly, first thing, clapping hands, singing old forgotten hymns of birth and stars. Instead, I looked out the window. I watched the wind pass through tree leaves. I watched the sun spread the sky red and ink blot on tracing paper. I watched nature move together perfectly. Perhaps find me on Sundays, somewhere sacred, somewhere forgotten, quietly timetabling God's entrance. Turn me into a symphony, for I will never know silence like I do now. Playing songs across your gravestone, God, trying to wake the life out of your peace. I spent too much time editing your face out of the black days, scratching the surface of my heart. I always thought that you were a fairy tale, a man-made cutout, a ridiculous promise that never came true, but I've seen through you now. You're in the supermarkets and the bus drivers. You're in the checkout girls. You're my brother sat there, and Jeremy Toombs with his new haircut. You're the woman behind the camera, and the guy that I said he doesn't matter if he has a big penis or not. I'm sure you were there too, God, when he died. When I never called my father back, when I thought the plane would crash aged 8, when I swam out of my depth and nearly drowned. I am sorry about my mistakes, my problematic health scares and expectancy. Instead, I'll fall asleep next to you now and dream of electrons bringing us back together. I dream of discovering you in my own tangible way amongst my own tangible people. I would dream of looking for the sacred and finding holy in everyone. Thanks. Without the piano, it's not as dramatic. It can be quite humorous. We've got 2 minutes left. We've got one more track, but it's not 2 minutes. What would you like us to do? Okay. The man in the front with the gelled hair says do it. We'll be really quick. Okay, this is called What It Takes to Be a Mother. Hands up who's got a mum. Haven't got a mum?
I've got a mum.
Of course she has. We've all got a mum. And I met a woman on a bench, and she had 2 children and was doing a degree and worked full time, and I was like, damn, how do you do that? I can't even get out of bed. And she said, actually, it's really hard, and these are the reasons why, but there just comes a moment where you look at your kid and you think, yeah, you're the next generation, this is worth it. So this is for her, and lots of it are actually things that she said. Thank you so much for listening, and it means everything. Oh, this is an experiment. We're gonna play a track, and Pete's gonna play on top of it, and I'm gonna do words on top of it. So we've never done this before, so please be kind. Be kind, man who's around this building. As she's sitting still, secretly I sketch the shapes of a woman. And she's all folded arms and aching limbs, bent back and reflecting on reminders and memories of something she once may have been. Now she's carrying 2 children. Her hands are full, brimming, ripped at the seams, and even though it's as natural to her now as the capture and release of air, her eyes flicker uncertainties. And when she turns to me, I ask her, what does it take to be a mother? just as daily the sun becomes the moon, she'd say, it just happens that way. It takes the females cradling unborn babies and stretched and heavy stomachs that used to hold vodka and chicken wings to just get on with things. It takes the never-been-kissed teenage girls whose souls sings for patience to understand that the fairy tales they once drew in the back of English books might look different now. We are the strong, single, independent kind, she'd say, and the lost, hard to find, awkward type. Those girls, heavy hearts, stretch, marks with curves like country bends. We are moving storms. We are building shelters from sand. We are moaning old in young skin. It takes getting used to new body parts. The underwear section of Primark going large, a drunken fumble down a back alleyway while the baby's away. It takes cleaning the sick of your skirt with a smile, and all the while aching, not quite formed limbs and telephone calls to kings begging to be crowned queen. It takes teenage insecurity blossoming into parenthood without us knowing, and it takes using our voice, even when we're not sure how we should, to tell our children, while you're growing, grit the stars, tiptoe across the sky, and don't be afraid of falling. It's in falling that you fly. Try kissing, try dancing, try fighting for your worth, try imprinting your place along the contours of this earth. Trace footprints of your past, trip over where you stand, stand back and breathe it in. I'm at the contours of this land. Let the streets become your shelter, and the fields where you roam. Let the people you collide with be the people you call home. You're as good as you are. You are the creator. You're the rising, the setting, the destroyer, and the maker. You're the breath behind the body, the pulsating of the heart. You're the end of the sleeping, and the moment it got dark, you're all I keep on holding. You're all that's getting held. You're the perfect placing of the contours of this world. You are the perfect placing of the contours of this world. Thanks everyone. I've been Rebecca. He's been Pete, aka Silver Tortoise. Thanks for listening.